thank you again, everyone, for joining. We are at the top of the hour. Thank you for everyone who joined the pre-show. And if you haven't noticed, we have Jackie and Jim joining us here for our presentation on Blueprints for Success, Building a Better Agency from the Ground Up. So we appreciate everyone joining us here today. We're going to go over some intros here in just a second, but let's go over some quick best practices to make sure you guys get the most out of this webinar session here today. So if you have a question for us, you're going to see in the bottom a little chat Q&A, and you're also going to see an option that says chat. So if you have a question, throw it in the Q&A. If you throw it in the chat, we won't blame you. That's okay too. But we love to get questions, and this is your opportunity to ask Jim and Jackie any questions as we go through the presentation. We will have a dedicated Q&A session at the very end, so keep that in mind. If we don't get to your question right away, we'll save it up for the end, but unless it makes sense in the moment to bring it up. You just want to chit chat with us like Maurice and Amy here are, feel free to use the chat feature, send us your fun messages or any thoughts you might have as we go through the presentation. We love to see that. If you have to leave early, don't worry about it. We are recording this, right, Kira? We are recording this. So we will send you the webinar replay tomorrow at around 11 a.m. Eastern. And that will include an exclusive agency success checklist that we have set up for you and from the wisdom of Jim and Jackie. So you're gonna get some great advice in there, some takeaways to bring home with you after joining us on this presentation here. So before we get into the intros proper, we do have one more fun announcement to make. As always, we like to do a little giveaway, and 3 lucky winners, well, plus Jim and Jackie, you guys are the winners for joining us. You've got these as well. We're going to send out 3 of these, so we have a special question at the very end. So make sure you get ready for that and stick around to the very end of the webinar. We're going to do a little question, see who answers it first, and the first 3 will actually win this t-shirt here, part of the webinar series. So our agenda for today. So we're going to talk about what does success look like for insurance agencies, just some high-level information to kick things off, just to get you thinking about the subject here. And then we're going to do an interview with both Jackie and Jim, just kind of going back and forth, asking questions about relevant details that pertain to how they started their agency, how they grow their agency. And then we're going to have, again, that Q&A session at the very end. So make sure you stick around for the entire thing if you can. But again, if you can't, we will send a recording. All right, who we are. This is the intro here. And if you have ever joined on one of our webinars, you know we love to show and talk about our team. So this was actually from earlier this year from the AR Summit. We all met up in Pennsylvania. That's where a lot of our team is from. And so we drug everyone else who was from the rest of the country over to Pennsylvania, and we actually took a day trip to New York City. We went on a boat ride, got to see the Statue of Liberty, and then we got some hibachi, of course, as you do. But this is some of our team members. So if you're one of our clients, I'm sure you have spoken or met with many of them. And everyone loves to work with the insurance agencies that we're clients with us. So we appreciate you. But just some information about us. We were founded back in 2012. Michael Jans originally started it. I know I always get that question, so I'm going to throw that out there now. If you know Michael Jans from back in the day. We have over 3,000 insurance agencies working with us with our solutions, and we're proud to partner with them. And Jim and Jackie are both clients of ours, so we appreciate both of you. Our team on the client experience side has a 100% customer satisfaction rating. So this isn't a typo, although technically it's 99.9%. I'm told on the marketing side I have to say 100 and round up, so I'm doing just that. But if you've ever worked with any of our team members, or if you ever do in the future, I think you're going to get that sense right off the bat. 205-star Google reviews, we're ticking up there. Complete insurance marketing platform, that's our main focus. I'll talk about a little bit how that works just before we get into the main meat of the presentation. But 2 important things I want to bring up are that we have deep AMS integration. So that's something that sets Agency Revolution apart. We're able to actually connect with agency management systems into our platform to set up smart automation systems. And we also have and are developing future AI marketing tools and assistants that really take your agency's marketing to the next level. So, sales pitch almost over, I promise, and then we're going to get into the fun stuff. But like I mentioned, our complete insurance marketing platform, it consists of a couple of things. So, the first part of it is marketing automation. We like to also call it, our client communication piece. So, this is the bread and butter for where your client communications begin and start and end from when the client first signs up with you, sending out like welcome kits to sending out policy renewals and stuff like that. So this is a great way to help you automate and save time at your agency. We also do insurance websites. This is called the Forge platform. And actually, that's where I come from Forge 3 originally. We got acquired a few years ago by Agency Revolution. So really proud to represent Forge websites, especially. In fact, I used to work on them. So yeah, I have a lot of feelings and passion for it. But Forge websites, we're super excited with those because we're able to create amazing content and foundations and foundational SEO that really sets your agency apart and gets you rolling from the ground up. We also have lots of marketing tools, and our team loves to just release more and more of these. So just keep your ears tuned. We have things like business texting, which allows you to do one-to-one client communication. Do it for me marketing, where our team actually works with you to do your marketing for you. It does what it says on the tin. Local listings help you show up on online listings like Google My Business, Bing Places, Apple Maps, et cetera, so that your information is accurate. Reputation management help you get more reviews and showcase them on your website automatically. And then social media, being able to connect to your profile such as Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and actually create and use posts from our content library to automatically post to your platforms. So that's everything. That's the sales pitch. I promise we're over. But let's get into the fun stuff now. We appreciate you taking the time here. I'm Ian. I am the demand generation manager at Agency Revolution. These are my two dogs. You'll see Princess on the left and Pearl on the right. So I have two Chinese crested dogs. They're my best friends, and we like to hang out a lot. And obviously, we like to match. So that was us going on a little day trip. Had our Hawaiian shirts matching that day. So we like to have a little bit of fun over here at the household. But I've been with Agency Revolution for over 6 years now. And it's been a wild ride and been a fun time. I've worked with a lot of you if you're one of our clients back in the past. And now on the marketing side, I'm able to just, chat with you a little bit more, do some fireside chats like this. But you came here not to talk about or with me. You came to hear from some of the fine folks here. So first up, we have Jackie from the Castle Insurance Agency. So Jackie, give us a quick little intro about yourself, if you don't mind.
Hi everybody. I'm Jackie. I launched the Castle Insurance Agency about 14 months ago. So we just celebrated our 1 year anniversary in August. I came from the insurance industry. Hi everybody. I had been at a large insurance carrier for about 13 years before I decided to branch off on my own and start my own agency. It's been a wonderful journey. Agency Revolution has been such a help in taking care of the things that I have little to no expertise in and helping to really make sure I'm not stretching myself thin. So great to meet you all. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Jackie, and congrats on the one plus years, and
Thank you.
and and many more to come. We also have Jim joining us from the Waverly Insurance Agency. So, Jim, give us your little intro here.
Sure. Well, good afternoon, and in some cases, good morning, everyone. Yes, Waverly Insurance has been in business since 1953. We've gone through a number of different evolutions through time with different management. My brother was running the agency up until 2019, and I took over at that stage of the game. And it's been an interesting ride trying to get everything updated. A lot of the systems, particularly from a marketing standpoint, were 15 or 20 years old. And we originally started with Forge, And when Agency Revolution bought Forge, it became a really easy transition for us to incorporate the marketing platform. So that's been a great relationship all the way through.
Awesome. Love to hear it. And we love to have you here, Jim. Thank you so much. All right. So before we dive into some Q&As here with Jackie and Jim, um, what does success actually look like? Obviously, this will be different depending on where you are in your agency's journey. So keep all of that in mind as we go throughout today. But that's why we wanted to bring on Jackie and Jim, just because they have different perspectives, different levels of experience. But that's because that's what the insurance industry looks like. There's lots of new agencies starting all of the time. There's lots of agencies that have been in business for 50 plus years. They're looking for something different to do because the landscape has just changed so much with technology, with how clients interact with agencies in the first place. So you've come to the right place. What does success look like? Again, you have to draw your own conclusions, but here are some general tips. And keep in mind that we're also going to be sending out a resource that includes many more, including a checklist that'll help you achieve those goals. But it's all about the journey, of course. So what does success look like? You have to have a strategy to drive new business consistently. That's kind of obvious, but if you don't have that strategy in place to grow and build your business, you're not really going to get anywhere. You're not going to be able to find that growth that's going to help you propel forward. So there's many different options to achieve that. There's different strategies, and we're going to talk about some of that here today. In addition, if my clicker works, maintaining client retention. This is a huge thing that we hear a lot in the industry. The average retention rate is about 84% last we checked. So maintaining a high client retention rate, that means keeping clients that you currently have as part of your book of business, not only helps to maintain them, because it's actually 7 to 9 times cheaper to maintain an existing client than it is to actually bring someone new in. However, the other part of that is the upsell opportunity. So eventually, that auto insurance client with renters like me back in the day eventually buys a home, and now I need home insurance. I picked my I had Geico. Sorry, Jackie. I had Geico before, and then I switched to an independent agency. But you'll hear from Jackie a little bit about Geico. So anyway, um, client retention is super important no matter what size of business you are. But obviously, as you grow and grow, you need to keep that percentage up. You have to also use tools that help you propel forward. So that includes tools that will assist with marketing and also creating your online presence from your website, from what your directory listings look like to social media. There's many things out there that can help you, not just the solutions we showed you. Of course, we want you to choose AR if you want to, if you can, but we know that some of you may not, and that's okay. And we want to give you some advice that you could take with you no matter where your path takes you. So with all of that said, I want to go ahead and give Jackie a bigger introduction here. But I think I want to start off by just asking you, Jackie, what's your superhero origin story for starting your insurance agency? I would love to hear it. I've heard it before, but I know the audience wants to hear this.
My first job out of college, I graduated in 2008, and it was the height of the recession. And I started off in broadcast sales, which is already a tough sale. But I was one of the top producers. I loved it. It was amazing. And then I just went further into advertising, and I worked for an ad agency. I did media buying and planning. I, worked with a lot of different brands. I worked on a congressional campaign, which is actually what I went to school for. But so from there, I just reached this plateau where it was I don't really want to go own an agency. I'm competing against people that have 30 years experience, because this is just the market at the time. And my brother-in-law was working for Geico at the time, and was like, come try this. You're going to really like it. And I was so resistant at first. And I did it, and I spent 13 years there, and I learned so much. I'm so grateful for all of the different roles that I held there, the mentorship, the leadership. It was just the most amazing experience. And, a little over a year ago, I got to a point and I was like, I'm ready to start my own agency. Like, I think this is the next step. So, prior to joining the call, we were all kind of joking about how no one really like, very rarely do people start off and say, hey, I want to be in insurance. You just kind of stumble into it. But I think throughout my career, I've just been open to whatever that next opportunity looks like and how my experiences can shape me and help me um, transition to something new. And so this is a time in my career where I'm like, you know what? I really want to build something that's meaningful, legacy that, maybe my children can get involved in when they're older, but something that I can truly help people. And I've really loved that about being an independent agency. I'm out in the community. I'm helping people solve all sorts of challenges. And it's just, you know, those are the reasons that make you want to do it and make you passionate about doing it. And the rest just comes. So,
That's awesome. Love the intro, Jackie.
thanks.
And I have a few questions prepared for you, but if you're in the chat or in the Q&A, any agency wants to ask Jackie any questions, feel free to throw them in here as we go throughout today's conversation with Jackie and Jim. We would love to bring up your questions, make it kind of like a little town hall session, you know. We'll see how it goes if we get a lot of great conversations going here. So I just wanted to start, Jackie. You just mentioned in your superhero origin story about being very involved in the community, and I know that's something that a lot of agencies we work with do the same thing. So, how has
Mhm.
your community involvement and networking contributed to your agency's growth? And in particularly, I know you were mentioning that you put a lot of focus on the commercial side. So, let us know how
Yeah.
that has gone.
So we actually we always we have a plan and we like to deter from it slightly just to make sure that we're not leaving potential leads on the table. But we have found the most success with grassroots campaigns, and that's with developing a professional network. That's with networking within the community, especially since we're so new and we're small. And insurance is an exchange of trust. So, especially when it comes to commercial, our agency is 70% commercial and 30% personal lines. So we're kind of different than the typical agency. And my team and I have the experience in commercial and really love it. I mean, we love all of it, but it's such a complex, all the various different policies, general liability, professional liability, et cetera. But those are kind of the things that like just go into how we really market our business and just showing up, being present, being available, showing yourself as the expert, showing yourself as trustworthy. Every
Mhm.
single time you're out in the community, you're really representative of your brand. Your brand is synonymous with your business. So
Love that. And as far as starting out, could you share some specific initial strategies for, in particular, attracting new business as a brand new agency?
mhm. Yeah, so I do love lead buying. If anybody is interested in buying commercial leads, we have an amazing company that we buy them from. They're fully vetted to whatever your appetite is. And you can change it on a moment's notice, and they are live transferred to you. It's phenomenal. So we utilize that to help supplement as we were building our professional network and networking within the community. I love our Chamber of Commerce here in Fauquier County. They are just so phenomenal. So if any of you have not joined your local Chamber of Commerce yet, please do. It really helped connect me with a lot of other business owners. And now, there's a lot of businesses that we insure through our local Chamber of Commerce. So.
Awesome. And as far as, that's the kind of strategy you took. What challenges did you end up running into as you started bringing in business, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Sorry, one more time. What was the question?
What challenges did you end up facing when you were bringing in that new business, and how did you overcome
Mm.
those challenges? Anything stand out?
Yeah. So, it- the source of the lead has a big bearing, and the relationship that you develop has a big bearing on retention. So our end goal post is 93+% retention. And so everything that we do on the front end feeds into that. So we have this very specific like structure that we utilize, approach that helps us to get that. We're currently at 97+%, like 97.48%. So we're doing pretty well. But you know, it just depends. Like when you buy leads, if you don't take the time to really develop that relationship, especially like a lot of times if people are using a system like that, they've kind of hit a wall with where to get insurance and they really need guidance. So when you can establish that relationship and really put them at ease and help to become the expert in it, and you know what, hey, it's okay, we're going to get this for you. Let me be
Mhm.
transparent about what the process looks like. It's very different, and you can make that into a very loyal customer. When it's a lead that's referred to you through someone you know, that's also extremely valuable. Those customers are more likely to stay with you. So yeah, we've done some digital marketing, we've done some you know, some print marketing, but we really kind of limit those. And we've been so busy, we actually haven't had to do a whole lot of lead buying in the past few months. Um, and I see some people that are asking, what is the name of the
They want
lead
to know.
company? Yeah, it's called Tivly, TIVLY.com. They're fantastic. Love working with them. So,
Awesome. And you were just talking about relationships, Jackie. So I'm curious to
mhm,
know what steps or strategies do you take to build and maintain trust with clients, especially if I know you're working with commercial
mhm.
clients, so I'm sure there's a lot more complex risk management situations. So how do you build and maintain that trust with them?
Yeah. So with every single client, commercial and or personal, commercial obviously is a little bit more complex. We upfront offer to do a risk analysis or a policy review. And then we'll tell our clients, because people don't understand insurance and they really need a translator, or people that are coming to our channel. Like, you know, our channel is very specific, and so you have to understand your customer that's coming through your channel anyway. They're not buying insurance online, or maybe they have in the past and they realize like I'm at a point that I really kind of need someone to guide me on what I need. um so we do an analysis up front and walk through a couple of things and really spend the time getting to know our customers, but in a very brief manner, like pinpointed questions
Hmm.
that are really respectful of their time. Anything that we can pull from public records, we will and we'll verify. Um, but we really focus on identifying, like, okay, I'm seeing gaps here. It looks like, you know, if you're comfortable with this level of coverage here, that's great, but this might be an area that you might not need as much coverage as you have. But we take the time to talk about those things so that customers feel informed and they feel like they know what their policy does. We get questions all the time, like I'm sure many of you do. We get questions all the time, like, what is this coverage? I don't even know why this is on here. Why am I paying for it? And that right there is a seed of mistrust. So taking the time to explain, here's how these coverages benefit you, and taking it from just like a line item to comprehension for the client, if they want it. Some of them are like, I just trust you. Just just do it. You know,
Just do it.
just do
Just
it.
handle
And then
it.
you're like, okay. Yeah. So it's just feeling out the client and identifying like what is their ultimate goal, what is their need, and then how do we deliver
Mhm.
it for them. So
I love that. No, thank you so much. And then, Jackie, I know you were mentioning earlier in your story that you had the background experience with Geico as an insurance carrier.
mhm,
So I wanted to kind of ask you some questions around that, just because, you know,
mhm.
some other agents might have started from the same origin story. How did your experience in that insurance carrier industry influence your approach to starting your own agency?
Oh my gosh. So Geico's homeowners department, which is where I started, is an agency. So they work with a bunch of different carriers. Auto, everyone knows Geico writes its own auto, and then commercial is similar. They write their their own auto and some other, and then they work with some carriers too. So my experience at Geico came from the agency approach. And I had the opportunity to really get to know a lot of these carriers, get to know the products. Like, I don't know, ask me anything about a traveler's contract. I can probably spit off like the sub limits for you. Um, but really getting to know the products. And so when I decided to start my own agency, I knew that one of the benefits of starting my own agency is the product knowledge that I have and the customer behavior data and information that I know from my time, as well as an agency approach. Because we're in a space now where independent agencies are really growing, and the captive agency is still, doing well. But personally, in my experience, I chose this because I thought that it was a better model to be able to shop my clients. And that's something that we really showcase to our clients. Like, listen, we're here to support our carriers and have a great relationship with our carriers, but we're also here to support our clients and advocate for them and make sure that they're getting the best coverage for the best price. And most of our clients are small business owners, and bottom line dollars matter. And when you feel like you have someone looking out for that bottom dollar line for you, then the loyalty maintains. So yeah, that's kind of the carrier insight.
Mhm.
Every carrier has different things that they're really good at. And it's knowing that and knowing like where your customer will be the happiest.
Yeah, and I love your point about kind of the juxtaposition of the captive versus independent
Mhm.
agency model. That's a huge selling point for every insurance agency that's listening here today. If you're independent,
Mhm.
you can really just showcase that, whether it's the first time you're talking with someone, whether that's something that's a website page on your website, for example. So that's just a great point to bring up, that big
Yeah.
difference and having that background knowledge. I am curious to know, like, are there any tips, tricks, secrets, or like skills that you've taken from that carrier experience that some, like, any other agency can kind of like take that knowledge and use it to their advantage?
Yeah. So there's something that I like to call the cost of ease for customer behavior. And this is really important for when it comes to renewals. So, especially homeowners renewals, clients don't look at it. It's typically in their escrow. More than 60% of the time, it's built a mortgage, it's in their escrow. They don't look at it, they don't see it until after the fact, and then they feel taken advantage of. Kind of like, if you call Cox or Comcast and you're like, why did my bill go up $50? And then they say, hey, we'd love to offer you a discount. And then you actually just get more enraged because you're like, why didn't you give me that to begin with? Why did I have to waste this phone call? So we take that approach, and I call it the cost of ease because there's a threshold where a client is resilient to price increase and a reasonable. So we're proactive about talking about it with our customers when we bring them on, about like, what is a reasonable price increase at renewal and what does that look like? And if it's outside of that range, then we'll reach out to them and say, hey, I recommend we take a look at this and see if it's still the most competitive policy. We also do a proactive reshop, for business insurance annually, because I think that type of client expects it. And at 3 years for personal lines. So the 3 year mark, we'll be doing the same thing, but we really look at it every single year for renewal. But that cost of ease, what it is there's a threshold, and that threshold is it's easier for a client to do nothing than it is for them to do something. So I I will say it's probably a swing of they could be saving anywhere from 12 to 13%, or it could be an increase of 12 to 13%. And they would, most of the time, most customers would rather do nothing, which is fine. But that's also why, we've all been in a situation where you've presented a rate to a client and you're like, this is $200 less than your current policy. And they're like, well, that's only saving me like what, $10 a month. That's really not worth it to leave. And unless you've really established that like loyalty and that, and there's something else, there's some other reason that you have uncovered, you're probably not going to really get them to switch. It's
And it's
easier for them
that,
to do nothing.
no, I love that point. And it's like that communication that you have, that relationship that you're building, that's what's going to
Hmm.
also keep them just beyond that 12 to 13% threshold. They are, that could just compound on that because they're like, okay, well, sure, it went up, but you guys call me all the time, remind me of
Yeah.
renewals, have that great conversation with your agent. So it's, I think that makes all the difference. And that's where I
Yeah.
want to dig into a little bit about brand awareness, why that's important, and kind of showcasing almost everything you just said, Jackie, in terms of how people perceive your business. So I'm just curious to know, um, could you give any examples of how technology has directly contributed to achieving your business goals that you set out to achieve?
Yeah. So, I don't feel like we're nearly as far as we want or need to be. Like there's so many things that as I scale, I'm like, okay, I need to set aside time to figure out how to automate this. I need to set aside time to figure out how to um, do better automation for this or for this email campaign or for this. So we do utilize a lot of the carrier automation, which is great, you know um but we also want to create that brand loyalty, and there's a line for that, right? Because you can create too much loyalty to where your clients are only ever calling you and you're like, oh, this is a simple change, you could have just called the carrier directly and made this change. So then you're incurring like a servicing cost on top of it. But then again, there's some things you do want to handle, like from a servicing perspective, because it's a retention lever. um so it's a fine line to walk. um and I will say that I'm really interested to see what Jim is doing because he's like well established, continuing to grow. But hands down, when it comes to technology, we love our Agency Revolution website. It is like it's our business card for people that are just meeting us on Google or meeting us online. And the ability to be able to generate leads from it, even after hours. Like 10 p.m. at night, someone could be sitting there thinking, like, oh gosh, I just got my renewal. I need to focus on submitting for a quote. So I really I think that technology is critical. Utilizing a system that shows you what your renewals look like, anything that you can do to continue to streamline. We're in that space where we're trying to like streamline. Like, what are all
Hmm.
of the areas that we spend too much time manually, and then streamline it.
Love it. And then as far as your website, and everyone can kind of see here, here's a little snapshot of your website. What specific features, tools, or how do you and your team use your website aside from it being your business card? And like what have you found to be
Mhm.
most beneficial to your agency's success and having this website and utilizing it on your side?
Yeah. So when I was like, I need to figure out who's like the best to do an agency website so that I look like I know what I'm doing and I look like I'm a well-established agency and like running with the big dogs. Agency Revolution kept coming up and I was like, okay, great. And then I went out and was like looking at some big agencies throughout the country and they all had Agency Revolution sites. And I was like, perfect. This is the place to be. So and the team is phenomenal. They're so responsive. They're so helpful. They're so like, hey, have you heard about this new feature? Or, hey, have you heard about this? So we really utilize our website I don't think we're even scratching the surface with how we utilize our website. But we're really using it as like the calling card. In 1Q, we plan on starting to utilize like the video proposals, because you can't
Oh
always
yeah.
get in front of a like people
Hmm.
are busy and want to work digitally, and so sometimes explaining it via video proposal is a little bit better.
No, that's
um
awesome. Oh, good.
Someone asked about commercial appointments. Direct commercial appointments can be challenging as a brand new agency. Brokerages are helpful. Developing a relationship with a brokerage that can help expand your appetite. We have probably like 99.9% appetite. And I'm part of an agency network. And the network that I'm a part of is Smart Choice. They're phenomenal. We can write pretty much anything through the relationships that they have and established appointments. And they've been able to help us with establishing direct appointments where we wouldn't have been able to otherwise if we didn't have a relationship with them. So that was a good question.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks for that question, Tiffany, and thanks, Jackie, for answering some of these questions here. We're gonna jump over now to Jim. Let's get the drums rolling here. So, Jim, tell us about your superhero origin story of not only how you became an agent or fell into it, but how your father created the business.
Yeah,
We'd
so
be curious
my
to know.
dad created or started Waverly Insurance Agency in 1953. And the interesting part of that story is he was not actually an insurance agent, he was an attorney. And he thought that having an insurance agent aligned with his law practice would be a great feeder for the law practice. I'm really not quite sure how he managed to finagle getting appointed, but he did. And over time, Waverly Insurance took on a life of its own through a series of managers that he had hired to help run the agency. My brother took over the agency in the mid 1980s, and I took over the agency from him in 2019. So it's been a long progression through a number of different decades, if you will.
No, thank you for sharing that story. It's always nice to hear like where people are coming from, the different perspectives, because like Jackie said, no one really wants to, except for your dad apparently, wants to be in insurance from the get-go. They just kind of fall into it. So
Well, yeah, and as you're aware, I fell into it in 2019. And my background was actually in the aerospace industry. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on that, but it was an interesting transition from being in aerospace to being in insurance.
Oh yeah, no. And if anyone's wondering, I did ask him the UFO question. I didn't get any info. If any conspiracy theorists out there or conspiracy realists, if you know, you know. Okay, growing an agency though, Jim, I've got some questions to run by you. But obviously, again, just a reminder, if anyone has questions for Jim or even Jackie, we're gonna have a Q&A at the end. But if you have any questions that pertain to what Jim's talking about as we're going through, bring it up in the chat, bring it up in the Q&A. We would love to field those questions for you. But first and foremost, Jim, I want to start with marketing automation, particularly around client retention. You're an established agency, you've been in business for many, many years, as you just mentioned. So, how, for you and your perspective, and how you've seen the results tally up, has marketing automation impacted your client retention rates over time?
I think there's a couple of things from a perspective standpoint, and that is when you're looking at client retention or even growth for that matter, you have to look at the website and the marketing automation platform as an ecosystem. And I think it's an important thing to kind of retain that perspective. And more specifically, the marketing automation in terms of client retention, we run about 93 to 95% client retention. And I should qualify that we're about an 80% personal lines operation as opposed to Jackie, who's primarily commercial lines. So we're dealing with the average person on the street all the time. And we use marketing automation to create a kind of stickiness, if you will, of the relationship between us and the average consumer. We do that by sending out renewal emails. One example, anyway, is renewal emails 90, 60, and 30 days ahead of renewal. And this is an example. This is actually a commercial campaign. But that's all automated. And the really cool thing is when we send these out, people actually return or respond by email or telephone thanking us for the reminder. So they treat it as if it came handwritten individually by the customer service person, and they feel very engaged at that point. Even though this is all automated, nobody touches it. We set it up at the beginning of the year. The agency management system has the dates in it. The campaign looks at the dates, it triggers things on the dates. And the best practices that I've heard is that you need to be in touch with clients 9 to 12 times a year. So between the 90, 60, and 30-day renewal, the birthday messages, and then the holiday messages, that puts us in that 9 to 12 times a year category, if you will. It's important on the one hand to do it enough, and on the other hand, not to overdo it. because you don't want to do it in a way that becomes annoying to people and actually drives them away. So that's a
Mhm.
little bit about how we do it from a marketing automation standpoint.
Love it. And as far as the marketing automation, how do you go about, because we were seeing this example here, how do you go about actually creating or even customizing a marketing campaign to really reflect your agency's, your voice, brand? Because
Yep.
everyone sounds different. You want to make sure you sound unique to the people you're speaking with. So how do you go about doing that?
Yep, that's a really good point. And Agency Revolution has a existing content, if you will, depending upon the campaign that you want to run. But they're easily customizable, and that's what we've done. Is we've gone through each one of the campaigns and highly customized it. Really easy to do, and then once it's customized, you just set it up and it runs. And it's important to speak with your own voice, if you will. People recognize things that are boilerplate or created without a particular feel to it. So we thought that that was a really important part of what the campaign offered us, is the ability to customize it. That was one of my original concerns: is could we make it sound like us to our
Hmm.
clients?
I love that point, and that goes back to your mentioning earlier about building the relationship. That's key because if they don't trust what they're hearing, or if it's like, oh, I feel like I'm not really hearing from Jim or Jackie, am I hearing from like a robot? Who knows? But when you put that voice behind it, you're really making that impact, that bringing that stickiness, like Jackie was talking about earlier. So as far as technology goes, because we're talking a little bit about automation, we're talking about websites. How does your team use your website to enhance your marketing efforts and to grow your business? Since you just talked about Fuse.
Well, one of the things that we do with Forge, and again, you got to look at this as part of an ecosystem, is with the help of Agency Revolution, we've actually put a contact form, an Agency Revolution contact form on the website. So there are different segments of the website, and if people have a question, they can fill in that information, and it comes directly in here to our marketing department, and then gets reassigned to somebody for the proper response, or the proper person responding to it. And more often than not, we will get people that say, looking for this type of information, looking for this type of insurance. They're not clients of ours, but they are looking for information to be educated. They fill out the contact forms, all automated. It comes right through to our system, and we capture all that information. They become a live prospect for us. It just kind of feeds the system that way.
Awesome. And how do you ensure, or like, those who are in charge, managers of agents or CSRs, for example, how are you ensuring that your team is effectively using these tools to meet business objectives?
We have a monthly number that we look at in terms of prospects that are developed, and we try to contour our work with the website and with the marketing platform to make sure that we're driving to those numbers. One of the things that we haven't done yet, but we're in the process of implementing, is a cross-selling campaign, or again, which is part of what's available within the context of the Fuse platform. So that we needed to wait and hold off on that. That's an intentional delay on our part, but that's the next project that we have in front of us. We wanted to make sure that we had everything else perfected before implementing something new.
Hmm. Love it. And yeah, I want to get more into that subject, but I did want to ask, um, from everything that you mentioned, or maybe you haven't mentioned it yet, what what specific feature or like tactic strategy with marketing automation do you find to be most valuable? If someone had to
I,
just if you had to
y-
pick in one thing, that would
I,
be the most impactful.
I think it is requesting reviews, or requesting Google reviews more accurately, and we incorporate that in everything that we put out there. The consequence of that, and under the heading of maximizing technology, is that we get a ton of Google reviews because we request them, and we make it easy for people to respond. They just click on a link. The
Hmm.
consequence of that is that we've moved from the second page on a Google search for local insurance agency to number one on the first page, just below the sponsored ads. And people know that people buy that sponsorship, so that they look down one level and they know that that's authentic.
Page one is an amazing feat, and in fact, there's statistics out there that certain number of people actually skip those sponsored ones. They go right to the real results. So
Exactly.
in the end, Jim, you have it spot on. Like getting those reviews is key to show up, especially for local SEO. So I've had a big background in that myself personally, working with like smaller businesses back in the day. So I know that for sure. And you have your agency. If you're showing up on the first page for a local area, exactly what you want to see. And Jim, you've done it. That's awesome. Um, so really applaud you for that, achieving
Well,
that.
well, there's another facet to that too, and if we've got a couple of
Mhm.
minutes, I can kind
Yeah.
of go down that path. And that is,
Yeah, elaborate on it.
in order to get the 5-star reviews, you actually have to deliver. So you can do all the marketing automation you want, but you really have to deliver to clients. Much like Jackie was talking about, you have to take an interest in what their issues are, and then when you do that, that's the consequence is the 5-star reviews,
Mhm.
and then use the technology to leverage that.
Love to hear it. Okay. No, great insights there about reviews. So I know, Jim, that you mentioned that you're looking forward in the future. Your agency is going to be more focused on cross-selling, especially with automation. So before we get into the automation piece, I was just curious to know what were or are your current strategies for cross-selling? Like before you get into the automation piece, like how does that look currently for you?
Well, right now we're kind of in the analysis phase, and through our AMS, we can see the numbers of clients. Again, we're 80% personal lines, so we can see the numbers of clients for whom we have a home and not their auto, or vice versa. So we're kind of keeping an eye on it from a trending standpoint to understand, is that really just the way that it is, or was that kind of a snapshot of a moment in time? And it appears that we've got about 30% of our clients for whom we have a home and no auto, and correspondingly 30% for whom we have an auto but no home. So there's a really rich territory there for us to mine with the technology. But having that data to start with is an important benchmark, if you will.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like you said, because you have that AMS agency management system data in place, you're able to parse through that and actually build out those audiences. And from there, you can build out those campaigns will target them specifically. Because again, like you mentioned, the 9 to 12, we like to say, at least 12, one per month, communications to your client base. That's part of it. That can run in the background. That can remind them, hey, you have auto policy with us, we'd love to help roll up with a home policy. And that really goes to rounding out the accounts like you mentioned, and building that relationship, because it's they're not always going to have an auto in policy. They're going to grow, they're going to need other insurance, and you're there to be their guide. So as far as um, your growth for your agency, what strategies have you done that have worked the best? Like, because I know you're looking into cross-selling. So aside from cross-sell, what strategies, like for on like the marketing side, or like, you know, your existing book of business, how do you grow that? Because you've achieved an amazing retention rate.
I think one of the things that we're finding, and this is within the last year, is that we provide a fairly high level of service, and that tends to be the distinguishing factor of our agency. And we're getting more and more people calling us because other agents are going to highly automated customer interaction. So we're really leveraging that message in all of the communication, and we do publish in our social media platforms. We're out there probably once a week with videos and other information about the agency and how promoting kind of the service level that we provide. So that's another facet of the whole growing the agency in totality.
Love it. And besides retention, I'm curious to know what other engagement metrics do you find valuable to be looking at? It's kind of like that goalpost, something that you can share with agencies that they could start using or looking at if they're not already doing so.
Well, one of the things, and I don't know this is really metric focused, but one of the things that we think is really cool about Fuse and Agency Revolution and the product in itself is the recent upgrade, if you will, that you can accept CSV files into Fuse. So our next marketing campaign to grow the agency beyond just client retention is we sit in a neighborhood of high value homes. And we think that we really haven't penetrated that market all that well to this point. So we're going to go out and buy mailing lists for local communities of high value homes and make a real push in that area. And the wonderful thing is that we can upload those CSV files into Fuse and do an email campaign out of Fuse, and it's all automated. So that's the next real initiative that we got in front of us.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I had one more question here, and then we have one question from the audience I want to send your way. So keep them coming. And I know Kira's in there answering some that are more related to AR, so we'll let her take care of those for now. But as far as you were mentioning earlier about reviews having that increased visibility, how do you manage the influx of new, quote requests, service requests from existing clients, and how do you ensure that consistent client service from every level of your business?
Well, very fortunate we've got dedicated individuals here, so it all starts with them as the foundational part. But in one of the other things that we haven't touched on yet that I think warrants some comment is the dashboard that resides within Fuse or is part of the Fuse platform, and I monitor that daily for customer responses to what we do, and that gives me a real good finger on the pulse, if you will, of how we're doing the business that we're doing. I know that's not a direct answer to your question, but I wanted to make sure that we touched on that too, because I think it's a very valuable part of the tool.
I gotcha. No, love that. Thank you so much. And then I just want to go to a question that Alejandra had in regards to your agency before we get into the Q&A. Is your agency or was it ever part of a network? And if so, which one?
Never part of a network. We're a standalone independent agent.
All right. Going at it alone, but you've done really well with it. So we just had a curious question there, so I appreciate you taking that one.
Sure.
Yeah, we have some other questions. We'll get to some of those in the Q&A. And Kira's answering a lot of these that are more related to the product. Awesome. Okay. So now we'll dive into the outro here, but remember, stick around. We got some giveaways, and we're gonna have a Q&A session. So keep those questions coming. We appreciate you sending them in. But we are gonna be sending, along with the webinar recording, a resource that you can kind of take some of these takeaways that Jackie and Jim shared with us today and apply them on your own so that you can, have that guidepost for building success for your agency. So we're going to be sending an agency success checklist. It's going to have some top tips, some things you can look out for to start doing. And then it's going to have an actual checklist. You can actually go in and you can download it, click it, check off the check boxes if you like that kind of tangible thing, or if you're like me and Jim, print it out. Print out so we print it out, and you can go ahead and do that too. But that way you have something you can follow along with these tactics, tips, and strategies that you've heard today. And again, just focusing on those different milestones that we're going to be walking you through in that resource. So I hope you find that valuable. But remember, before we get to the Q&A, we want to do some giveaways. So get your typing fingers ready. We're going to have a question, and the first 3 people to answer it correctly are going to win that t-shirt we showed earlier. So we talked about building success. So obviously, if you get the answer right, you're going to get this t-shirt here about building a better agency. So the question is, what is the tallest building in the world currently? Because obviously we know that could be surpassed. But let's see if we've got some... You know what? I thought this might take like 30 seconds to get the answer, but you guys are too smart. Okay, I got to scroll up. We've got, and we're not going to go off the spelling because it is what it is. Joe Callahan, you're our first winner. I don't know how you typed that. I think you finished typing before I even stopped talking. Eric Class. Sorry, Ben, it's not the Empire State Building. I wish it was, but it's not, sadly. And then we have Josh. So those are our 3 winners for the t-shirt. And Kira will mark that down for us. So I appreciate that. But yeah, great response right there, guys. We always love these little giveaways. But let's get into the Q&A proper here. and I'm gonna have this screen up. So if anyone is interested at all about any of the Agency Revolution services that we talked about today or that Jackie and Jim mentioned, we would love if you would use this QR code, or Kira is going to post the link in the chat. If you wanted to book a consultation with one of our team members, we would love to talk through your goals and how we can help you get there. So I'll keep this up while we go through some of the questions here. So, all right. Got some. I'm looking at the questions, and we've got the answers to the tallest building. So I'll go ahead and clear those up. But let me go through chat. And Kira, if you see any questions, I'm just going to scroll through. But if there's anything to bring up, let me know. All right. Too many notes here, but I love it. I love it. Okay.
Hi, Ian. Did you happen to answer the one? I apologize if I missed it, but I know someone had a question for Jim earlier, which they asked, was this agency ever part of a
We got that
network?
one.
Okay, good.
No, yeah, thanks.
Sorry if I missed it, but okay,
All
wanted to
good.
make
No,
sure.
Thank you, Kira. Let's see what we
Absolutely.
got here. So we got that question. Sorry, I'm a slow reader, so bear with me, everyone. If you have questions, keep throwing them in. Okay. We had a question. I think that was answered. Okay.
Yeah, I have been trying to answer the ones that are more directly related to the product. So if they were
Yeah, so we have a question here from Angela, and this is something that I can, and Kira, if you want to jump into, we can kind of take because it's more on the AR side, about the NPS survey going right to Google and if that's possible. So the way that it works, at least on our platform on Fuse Marketing Automation, the way we have it set up is that when you send out like a survey, you send out an NPS survey. In fact, if you have reputation management with Forge, you can send out surveys as well. What will happen is they will get that email message. They can, select the survey results, and hopefully they give you a 10 out of 10, right? And then it does prompt them with a button that links right to your Google reviews. And as per Google's regulations, like no matter what score they give, you have to, show that or you don't show the button. But that's how the automation works. And the reason for that is obviously we want to make sure that people are, first and foremost, you're getting that feedback in your internal system. So even if they end up not giving you a Google review, which we want them to, obviously we're encouraging that, but it's still giving you that insight and you can follow up with it. So whether it's a positive review or a negative review, that you have that opportunity, it'll go right into your dashboard. You can communicate with that client directly. If they gave you a 10 out of 10, maybe you notice, hey, they didn't give me a review. Reach out. You can always reach out and have that conversation. And hey, reminder, another great tactic we see agencies do is they include their in their email signatures, like leave me a Google review. It's just a nice way as you're making those client connections to give more opportunity to grow your reviews. And by having that strategy or multiple strategies in place to get reviews, you can really ramp that up. So that's a great question there about the NPS surveys. And obviously I'm not a technical person, but we like that kind of feedback. So about not sending a review twice. So I'm sure maybe in the future there could be something. You never know. Keep those ideas flowing because it would be. I agree. It would be pretty cool. You just do it once, and it's like, would you also like to leave a review? And it would like maybe copy and paste it in for you. You never know. Technology changes every day. So Angela, great question there. We've got some new question. No, that's just a comment. Okay. Kira, do you see any other questions for me while I scroll through here? What other? Oh, I got questions for Jackie and Jim here, and we've have. What are some other platforms that you have used? At least on a regular or daily basis that have helped you, other than Forge or Fuse.
I think from our standpoint, with the totality of what Fuse offers and what Forge does on the website, we really don't use any other platform. I mean, that kind of completes the picture for us.
All right, thanks for the shout out, Jim. Jackie, what about you? I know you're you might be using some
Yeah,
other technologies. Let us know what you're using just to give everyone a
we
background.
yeah, we use like just trying to think about like the day-to-day for us. So Agency Revolution, we utilize our agency management system, Easy Links, um, and then Google. I mean Google Workspace.
Gotcha. Perfect. Yeah, it's always helpful that people know, like, even if it's like the little things like the Google Workspace, like there's always those, you know, team communication tools and like organization that you need to have
Mhm.
at an agency. So love the insights there. Let's see if we got any other questions. We're gonna take a few more questions and we'll maybe go maybe extra 5 minutes. But at this point, I would like to officially end the recording part of the webinar. So I'll do a little outro and then we'll get into any other final questions that you all might have. So again, I wanted to say thank you to not only everyone joining us here, but a big special thank you to Jackie and Jim for taking the time out of their day to join us, give agencies some of their insights uh, and secrets and tips and tricks into how they have found success. So thank you everyone for joining. We look forward to seeing you on the next one. Now, if anyone wants to stick around, we're going to answer some great questions here. All right. So, Angela has another follow-up question. Do you guys have any more tips of getting Google reviews? What do you got? Any other strategies you can give to Angela that you haven't already mentioned? What have you seen be successful?
I think, if you, I don't know if you can bring back up that form that you had before, but on the bottom of all of our forms, we ask for a Google review. So if you look at the very bottom under the signature or in the signature block, there's a request, please leave us a review. And we do that on all of the campaigns that we send. And I think most importantly, it's one of the things that we do is when somebody does renew, we send them a thank you note, thank you email similar to this with leave us a review. And that is the point in time when they're most engaged and most likely to fill out a review. So it's just the consistent asking for reviews.
Yep, it's always ask, and even from my past experience in other businesses, like especially on like the ad agency side, which was part of my background, just asking people and but even just guiding those agents or not agents at that time, it would be like landscapers and other businesses. Like if you just ask, people are going to reciprocate in most cases, especially if you have that great relationship. So that's a great bit of advice there, Jim. Jackie, have you found any success, or what would your tips be for
Yeah,
getting Google reviews or any reviews in general?
we do it with a welcome email, like the onboarding email. And so when we welcome them to the agency, we also say, hey, if um, you had a great experience, help us reach more clients by sharing it,
Hmm.
and then leave the link to get a Google review. We don't do any follow-up. Do I think that there's ways that we could optimize it or add it for renewal? 100%. I love Jim's comments about how it really impacts. And one thing that we've learned recently is responding to reviews too helps your SEO impact as well.
1,000%. No, that's great
Yeah.
advice, and also it's just something that you're always on a journey with. So building that review strategy is the first thing, and then growing those reviews over time. That's what we always talk about here, and that's what, I know plenty of agencies are having great success with, and responding to reviews is great. In fact, we've seen some agencies that we work with, they'll use like our AI assistant that's built into the tool. Like, hey, I just got this, someone just gave me this response to a review. Can you help me answer? Like, how do I reply to this? Because especially you think of it like you always want to get 5 stars, but you're sometimes going to get those negative reviews. And at least from my outside perspective of not being an insurance agent, a lot of times I see like negative reviews for agencies. It's usually like about the carrier. So it's like, is it really a reflection of the agency? So that's your opportunity to take the feedback, good or bad, respond to it, provide that context. Because when someone looks at that review, not like they're treating that, at least nowadays in this today's society, they're taking that almost at face value as they would from a family member saying, "Hey, this agency I work with, you should get insurance with him. Like that's a personal recommendation. In many cases, 75% of the time, like of people actually see it that way, which is pretty interesting how impactful reviews are. So when they look at that review thread and they can see, oh, here's Jim's hundreds of reviews, you can see all the responses and be like, wow, like I've seen they took the time. Hey, there was one negative here, whatever. Like they responded to it in a really nice professional way. So it makes a big difference.
If I may, Ian, I'd like to add something to what Jackie said. We actually have an automated response or an automated thank you to anyone that gives us a 9 or a 10 on a review. So that goes out automatically. Somebody gives us a 10, automatically a response is sent. Somebody gives us a 9, automatically a response is sent. Anything below that, I respond personally
Yeah.
and ask if there were issues. So that's the way that we manage the responses to the request for reviews. It's a little bit different, but again, automating as much as we can where it's and responding personally where it's meaningful.
Perfect. Yeah, that is basically, you said it right. Automation, depending on especially the size and scale of your business, and you're kind of building up toward that, especially if you're a newer agency or you're getting started, you're going to have that growth of being able to, okay, at a certain tipping point, you probably need to use that automation to really just make it more effective and efficient for your team. But at the very least, as long as you're following those best practices of just responding, whether it's automation or personally having involvement, you're getting that same response from the client base. Like they're still seeing that outside portion. And I think Jim, we were kind of talking about this the other day about like how all the work that you put in behind the scenes, like no one's really going to see all that. They're going to see a little bit of it. So I think that's
Right.
part of it too. You're doing all this behind the scenes work. You're building up that relationship. You're reaching out. You're using this automation. At the end of the day, people are just seeing those reviews. But so you have to like lean on that. You have to lean on, what does your website say about you? What does your online presence say about you? What are other people saying about you? So that's great. And then Greg asked, Jim, I think this is in regards to what you mentioned, the response sent from AR. So I'm guessing from Fuse in regards to that automated message. So I believe that would be yes, right? Like that automation is coming through Fuse, correct?
It's coming through Fuse, exactly.
Gotcha. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't misinterpreting for you. I appreciate it.
Nope.
You got it, Greg. Thanks for that question here. Angela had a question about putting a Google review request on a monthly newsletter. That's a good idea. I think what you could do, and Kira, feel free to jump in too if you have any thoughts, but you could take a strategy, a little tip here from Jim. And if you're looking at the screen here, how he has in the email signature built in that link to leave a review. I think that would be a great way because then it's not as in your face in the newsletter, but it's at the bottom. So if they are someone that reads through the whole thing, they're going to see that in there, and that gives them that opportunity to, yeah, you know what? I love the education you're giving. I love the coverage I get. I'll leave you a review. So, but there might be more forward ways of asking, like the NPS survey, I think is the best way to approach it if you want to just do a direct ask, or if it's like more in the moment, like after like a post renewal, like Jim mentioned. So many ways to
Yeah.
go about it.
You got it, Ian. Yeah, there are a few ways. You could also customize the emails, which is what I mentioned to Angela in the chat. But we also have custom links that you can add to signatures, but then it won't look as pretty. So I would recommend customizing the campaigns. And I put in the information to contact our client experience team, who is more than happy to help you get those things updated.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll do one more last call for any questions, or Kira, let me know if I missed any. I saw you were answering a lot of them. So let me know. Oh, and no worries,
Oh, no worries,
Jackie.
Jackie.
We appreciate you taking the time to join us here. I think the questions have dried up. If we did miss anything, I'm sorry, but I think we got everything. I think Kira was really quick on the draw of answering them. But if you do have any questions, especially if you're a client of ours, feel free to reach out to our client experience team about any of your nitty-gritty questions. If you're interested in our solutions, again, please use this QR code or use the link that Kira sent, and she can send if you don't mind sending early again, Kira.
Oh yeah, no worries. I'll send it again.
Appreciate it. I don't have it. I don't have it handy because I know me personally. I don't have a smartphone, so like I wouldn't know what the heck to do with this either. So go ahead and click on that website link in there. That'll take you right where you need to go to set up a consultation with our team.